Hello again, welcome back to the second part of the day 2 review. I'm now going to take you through the next 5 multiple choice questions. So if we take a look at question 16 here, it says ABC is dilated by a scale factor of 3. Which statement is true of the image of A prime, B prime, C prime? So what I'm going to do to help myself visualize this here is I'm simply going to go ahead and draw a picture. So I'm going to draw my original triangle. Let's say A, B, and C. And if my triangle is being dilated, I know that that means it's going to grow or shrink. And since my scale factor is 3, that means my shape is going to become 3 times larger. So this obviously isn't to scale, but you get the visual. A prime, B prime, and C prime. So with this visual in place, I'm going to simply go through and read through my choices and figure out which one is the only one that's actually true. So choice 1 says, if I take 3 of A prime, B prime, so if I took 3 of these pieces, 1, envision it, 2, and then I have a third one, 3 going off my paper, would that be equal to 1 of this side here? That would be false. 3 of A prime, B prime would be really, really long. Like I said, it'd be one of these times another one times another one. So it's definitely not choice 1. Choice 2. Choice 2 says, if I take 1 of B prime, C prime, so if I take one of these sides, would that be equal to 3 of my original B to C sides? So if I took 3 of these guys, 1, 2, and I could add the other one on the other side, 3, that does in fact look like this would match with this. And it's true because if you think about it, it says ABC was dilated, which means to multiply by 3. Well, here's 3 times BC. So this is our correct answer. If you're wondering why it's not choice 3 or 4 here, remember, under a dilation, angles are preserved. All right, so if you don't have that down on your paper, you might want to add that. So dilations preserve angle measure. All right, if you think about it, for instance, I drew my triangle such that, let's say I have a 90-degree angle down here. Just because I multiply my side lengths by 3 is not going to change the fact that this is still a 90-degree angle. Therefore, angles are preserved. All right, so hopefully that was a pretty straightforward question for you. If not, come in and check with Miss Griffin or myself. All right, on to the next 4 multiple choice questions. All right, question 17. Steve drew line segments A, B, C, D, E, F, G, B, F, and C, F as shown on the diagram below. The scalene triangle BFC is formed. Which statement will allow Steve to prove that A, B, C to D is parallel to E, F, G? So, talking about parallel lines, you have to know your different kinds of angles that parallel lines make. So first one, if you have parallel lines, you might end up with alternate interior angles. All right, those are the ones that make a Z. You could also end up with alternate exterior angles. Or you could end up with what are known as our corresponding angles. So what I'm essentially looking for in this question is which of these choices, 1, 2, 3, or 4, gives me one of these angles. If I get anything but these angles, it's not going to prove that the lines are actually parallel. So let's go ahead and read choice 1. Choice 1 says angle CFG, so I'm going to follow that with my pen. C to F to G, CFG, so that would give me this angle down here, is equal to FCB. So I'm going to follow it. FCB, oh, notice I do in fact get a pair of angles. They look a lot like this one over here, and it forms my Z that I always look for, which proves then that these are alternate interior, making choice 1 be a correct answer. If you just don't believe me or you want to see another one to prove why it's not, let's take a look at choice 2. I'll walk you through that one quickly. So choice 2 talks about ABF. So A, where's my pen? There we go. A, B, and F. So this angle over here. And it wants it to match with BFC. Well, BFC is over here. Those angles are definitely not any of those 3 angles I have to the right. And if you check each of the other choices, 3 and 4, you'll see likewise that only choice 1 will give us a pair of angles that we need. All right, moving on here to question 18. It says, in the diagram below, CD is the image of AB. All right, so notice that CD is the image of AB. So AB was our old, and CD is our new. You can think of it that way. CD was the new piece that was formed after a dilation with some scale factor that we don't know exactly what it is. It says, which ratio is equal to the scale factor of K for this dilation? So if I'm talking scale factor, remember your scale factor is always new over old. Okay, you can remember this by thinking about, like, if you get a new pair of shoes, you'd always prefer to wear those new pair of shoes over your old pair of shoes. All right, so essentially I could make two triangles out of this. If I start at E, I have my orange triangle, it's my new triangle. And then let's make a purple triangle for my old triangle. All right, so that means I need to see an orange side over a purple side for new over old. So E to C, first choice. Well, E to C is in orange, and E to A, what do you know, is in purple. So this choice looks really good so far, so I'm going to put a dot next to it. Let's check choice 2. BA. BA is an old. I can't have old first, so choice 2 is gone. Choice 3, EA. Same thing. EA is in my old triangle. It's a purple side length, so that's gone. And, oh, choice 4 says EA again. That's gone. Therefore, choice 1 is correct. Again, if we look at it, EC is in my new orange triangle, and EA is in my old purple triangle. So we're back. Here's question 19. 19 says, a gallon of paint will cover approximately 450 square feet. So that's kind of an important information that I don't forget about. 1 gallon of paint will cover 450 square feet if I was to paint my house, my room, whatever you want. It says an artist, okay, so we're talking about an artist, wants to paint all the outside surfaces of a cube measuring 12 feet on each edge. What is the least number of gallons of paint he must buy to paint the cube? So I'm first going to draw myself a little visual here, again, because visuals always help us. So trying to draw a cube as best as I can. And it says that he wants to paint all the outside surfaces of a cube. So I don't want to fill this cube up with paint. I want to paint the outsides of it. So if I look here, that would be me painting this front face. I would paint this side face, so on and so forth. And if you think about a cube, there's actually 6 sides to a cube. There's, 6 faces. There's the 4 sides that go around, and then there's the top and the bottom. So 4 plus 2 gives me 6. Now, each of these faces, though, are a square, because a cube is made up of a bunch of squares, and each square is 12 by 12, because it says it's a cube. So if I'm trying to fill in each of these squares, I essentially need to find the area of each side. And then again, I'm just going to multiply it by 6 since I have 6 sides. So area of a square, just like area of a rectangle, is length times width. And my length is 12, and the width here is 12. So in my parentheses, I'm going to put 12 times 12. When you do that, what you're going to end up with is 864. So what this is standing for is the amount of paint that I would need to cover all 6 of these sides of my cube, including the top and including the bottom. Well, it's not asking how much paint do I need, it's asking how many gallons of paint would I need. And up at the top, remember, it said that each gallon will cover approximately 450 square feet. So looking at this, step 2, this was step 1. Step 2 is to figure out how many gallons I need. So if I know I need to paint 864 square feet, I'm going to divide that by my 450 to figure out how many gallons of paint I need to buy at the store. When you do that, you end up getting 1.92. So I need to go to the store and buy 1.92 gallons of paint. Now, I can't buy 1.92 gallons of paint. They don't come in that size. But 1 gallon, if you think about this, is not going to be enough, all right? Because I need to get to that other part of the square that I don't get. So the least number that I would be able to purchase would be 2. Yes, I'm going to have a little bit of extra paint left over, but I'd rather have extra paint than not enough paint. So that's why this answer is choice 2, not choice 1. Okay. Now, that is a surface area question versus a volume question, and thankfully, not really thankfully, because that wasn't too bad of a problem, but that's the only surface area question they've asked so far in the Regents. So we might see one, we might not. They typically tend to stick with volume more, but that would be a scenario where surface area would come into play. Number 20, says in circle O shown below, we have a diameter AC, and it's perpendicular. Remember, we know perpendicular lines make right angles to CD. We have a bunch of chords drawn in. It says, which of the following is not always true? So again, go through it one at a time and figure out which ones are true, which is the one that's not true. So I'm going to outline them just like I did before. A to C to B. A to C to B. So I have this wonderful angle over here. Notice that it's an inscribed angle because it's back here on the edge, because it's across from this arc AB. So let's move on to this one here. B to C to D. So I'm going to go over here and say B to C to D. So again, I have an inscribed angle, which is here. But this angle is across from arc B to C. So therefore, these two angles are not across from the same arc. And there's nothing in the picture that tells me or in the question that says AB is the same as BC. So therefore, my gut is telling me that's going to be choice 1. So let's put a little dot next to it. But again, make sure you read the other choices to make sure there's not a better answer out there. Choice 2, ABC. So ABC, let me see if I can erase all this stuff. Oh, I can't, so we're just going to use a lot of different colors. ABC, A to B to C. Now, hopefully you're recognizing here that they said AC was a diameter, so that's going to make this be a right angle. And then the next one it talks about is A to C to D, A to C to D. Well, this is also a right angle because remember, tangents are perpendicular to radii. So it's not going to be choice 2. If you look at choice 3, BAC. So now I'm looking at, what color is going to show up? Let's try this rainbow. I have no clue what this will look like. Is it going to work? Let's see. Nope, still that. Can't do blue yet. All right, B to A to C. So I'm looking at this angle down here. And DCB. DCB, looking at this angle down here. Both of these angles are across from this arc over here. So it's not choice 3. And choice 4, CBA, we already know that that's a 90-degree angle. And EAC is also 90 because they're both across from a diameter. So we were right with our first hunch of choice 1. So that concludes the multiple choice section here. I am going to go ahead and do question, 28, just because this is a shorter video to try and keep them somewhat short. So I'm just going to jump to a new page so I have some clean writing space, but I will do question 21 and then I'll make 2 final videos for the short answer, the remainder of them. So if you're looking for a specific short answer question, it's not 28, jump ahead to the next video. Otherwise, I'm going to go down to 28 right now. Okay, so question 28 comes from part 2. Remember, part 2 are the 2-point short answer questions. So they're going to probably give you a full page for each question, but remember, it's 2 points, so you most likely do not need the entire page. So this question says here, the diagram below shows a ramp connecting the ground to a loading platform 4.5 feet above the ground, and they labeled that for us here. The ramp measures 11.75 feet from the ground to the top of the loading platform. So this ramp that they laid down is 11.75 feet. Determine and state to the nearest degree, so there's our rounding directions, the angle of elevation formed by the ramp and the ground. So the first thing I have to do is I have to figure out, well, where is that angle going to go? So if I'm looking between the ramp and the ground, the ramp we said was this side here, the ground is this side here, so the angle between them would be this angle down here. I'm going to let that be X. So I noticed that, I have a right triangle. I have some side lengths. I'm trying to find an angle. That is a wonderful big clue that we should use our favorite friend, SOHCAHTOA. So remember, you always stand at the angle. So I'm going to stand down here by X. From this position, I draw in my opposite side. And then, I always say, well, across from the right angle is my hypotenuse. So in this scenario, I have O and I have H. O and H comes from sine. So the next step would be to set up my ratio. So I have sine of x, because I don't know what my angle is equal to O, which in this scenario was 4.5, over H, which was 11.75. Now, a lot of you tend to do this, don't write this down, you tend to put sine over 1, and you're going to cross multiply. But you're going to get stuck because x here is stuck with the sine. And the only way to find an angle, whether it's sine, cosine, or tangent, is you have to do the inverse. So remember, the next step would be to say, okay, well, x is equal to sine with that little -1, and then I'm just going to stick my fraction right on the inside. So now this is something I can type right into my calculator. Again, you use the trig button, go down and make sure you press sine inverse. Well, with the -1, it's in the second row. And when I do that, I'm going to type in, it's not type in, after I type that in, I'm going to get the answer of 22.51, and it goes on for a little bit further. I go back and I check my rounding directions. It says round to the nearest degree. So that would mean x is going to come out to actually equal 23 degrees. Because again, this 5 is going to bump up that 2 to turn it into 23 degrees. All right, SOHCAHTOA. They always ask questions on SOHCAHTOA, so you really, really want to know that stuff well. I'm going to stop this video here. I'm going to go ahead and make another video that goes over 29, 30, and 32, and then I'll do one final video for those last 2 longer questions. All right, see you next time.